Welcome back to Wake Up America. So the DOJ revealing 3.5 million documents within the Epstein files over the weekend.
So the DOJ is also saying that there will be no new charges in the case. Joining us now with the latest on all this is former Epstein attorney, Professor Emeritus at Harvard Law School and author of The Preventative State, Alan Dershowitz. Good morning to you, Professor. I guess we start with getting your reaction to the latest release of the Epstein files over the weekend, 3.5 million of them on Friday.
Well, they prove what I've been arguing for years, namely that there were a relatively small number of underage real victims of Epstein. Most of the alleged victim survivors were adults who were paid $150, $200, $250 to give him erotic and sexual massages, and they kept coming back over and over again. Many of them themselves recruited some of the younger women into the process. So the actual disclosures don't help the case that he was a pedophile trafficker who was the biggest sex offender in the history of the United States. It mostly supports the proposition that he himself had improper sex with a number of young women, a lot of adult women who were some of them themselves were sex workers previously. They had worked in what were called whack shacks, that is, places in West Palm Beach where you went and paid $200 and got a happy ending massage. The other thing that's relevant about the disclosures is that the critics are claiming first that too much has been redacted, and then they're claiming too little has been redacted. What has to happen is anybody who's accused, the accuser's names have to be made public, and that's clear. And there are many accusations in there by unnamed accusers, and that's McCarthyism. You can't accuse people, name them, and then refuse to disclose the name of the accusers, because we know we have situations where many of the accusers, a woman named Sarah Ransom, accused Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, you name it, and then she admitted she made the whole thing up in order to have something on Epstein. Other accusers as well have admitted that they made up stories. There are people who Epstein and collected fortunes of money who never met Epstein. Right. Their lawyer said, hey, you lived in Palm Beach, maybe you met him, why don't you just file a complaint? And they did. So there are many, many things that Epstein did wrong. He was a villain, a terrible, terrible person. But there have been way, way exaggerated claims. And that's why I've said from the beginning, I want everything to come out, no redactions. And let us learn the whole truth. And the media will be surprised and disappointed by some of the truth, and some of it will obviously hold up. We know of no famous people, Donald Trump's or Bill Clinton's or anybody else, who the records now prove did anything wrong. So let's get to the truth, not to what the media exaggerates on.
So we know that Deputy AG Todd Blanche is defending Friday's release, despite survivors now demanding that the DOJ take down the Epstein files website, slamming the administration for not redacting enough files. Do they have a case here?
No, they redacted too much. Anybody who accuses somebody by name, anybody who says, I had sex with John Smith when I was, 22 years old, the name of that accuser should be revealed. There's no reason. These are adults. These are now women in their 40s and 50s. And if they're making accusations, serious accusations, like they did during the McCarthy period, you can't do that anonymously under the United States Constitution. Sixth Amendment talks about the right to confront witnesses, and that means accusers. So I think that not too much has been redacted, too little has been redacted. I don't want to see anything redacted. I want to see every single accusation. Anybody who's named, the accuser should be named, and all of their background information should be given. There's a lot of background information about some of these accusers, as I said before, Sarah Ransom, some of the others, who have long admitted histories of lying. And anybody who's lied should have that information out there. It can't be halfway. It can't be the names of the accused are out there, but the accusers somehow, because they call themselves victims and survivors, get a pass. Many of these were adult women in their 20s who went to Epstein's house, collected $250, came back repeatedly over and over and over again, brought with them friends. These are not victims. These are co-conspirators or people who are voluntary, but they're not victims. So The media shouldn't immediately accept the term victim and survivor and apply it to anybody who claims that somehow they had a sexual contact with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, Professor, we've got about 30 seconds left. You can get this straight. Ghislaine Maxwell is going to face another deposition next week, I believe, by Congress. I mean, what new are we going to learn here? Why is this continuing to come up?
I don't think very much is going to come up new. Ghislaine Maxwell has already given information to the attorney. But, let's have everybody subpoena anybody who knows anything, including some of the alleged survivors. Let them, if their names, there are some prominent survivors who have been in front, who have talked about it all. Let them be called in front of Congress. Boy, do I have a list of questions for them. What the House? Why did collecting $200, $250? Why were they recruiting other young women? Why were they not prosecuted? This is a gray area, not a black and white area. Epstein did many, many, many bad things for which, if he had lived, he would have been punished. But let's not create a new McCarthyism. I lived through McCarthyism of the 1950s, and I remember when Senator McCarthy would say, I have a list here of people. I'm not going to tell you who accused them, but I'm going to tell you their names. That was old McCarthyism. Now, under Epstein, we're seeing a new McCarthyism. And it's, people who did anything wrong should be punished, obviously. But guilt by association, guilt by accusation shouldn't be tolerated under the American system of justice.
And behind anonymity, you can't fight back. All right, Professor, great to see you on this Monday morning. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.